Let's do this. Let's read it. By the way, while reading, are you understanding it as well? You was पढ़ रहे हो. Are you understanding it too while reading? Yes. Yes. Okay. So that is really important. So do you realize that you read it in 2 minutes and you understood also in 2 minutes? But if I ask you to do the same for an entire RC, you'll be like, हमें नहीं समझ रहा. So that gap we have to bridge. Why are you able to understand it and not the entire RC? Because RC tends to have a lot of unnecessary information, long sentences, lot of words that confuse you unnecessarily. That is why that exercise of modifiers is really, really important that we learned in our second class. Very, very important. Because the moment you eliminate it, it just starts making much more sense. And you can read it faster and understand it better. Right? Okay. So now let us analyze it one thing at a time. It says topophilia is effective bond between people. How emotions vary across individuals. There are many factors that influence it. It is not strong emotion, but it can elevate a powerful emotional symbol. So it is telling you what is topophilia. Right? Aesthetic appreciation is one way it happens. Second way it happens is this way. And third way it happens in display. So what are the types? Right? Topophilia has influenced people, but it has resulted in disappointing. So its use case. Right? What is it used for? Topophilia connotes positive relationship, but it can have darker implications like patriotism, cultivate nationalist agendas, so hatred in all Pakistan, India, and all of that happens. And residential communities may reinforce class and racial divisions. Likewise, places can evoke fear and anxiety. So it is positive, but it has negative to it also. Again, how it can be negative through this or through this or through this. Okay. So overall, what kind of passage is this? What kind of passage is this? Is there analysis? Is there persuasion? Is there questioning? Is there exploration? Is there information? Batao, what is the overall, when you analyze it overall, are you able to do it or should we do parawise only? Hmm? What does para one do? It informs us about it. Informative tone, classical informative tone, that what is topophilia. Para 2 tells us what are its types. So informs us about its type. Again in informative tone. What are its types? Para 2, para 3 tells us what is its use case. Use case comes under analysis when you analyze what its use case is. And we will say it was critical tone, na? Because whatever use case was, they're saying that it was negative. Right? Right? So critical. Disappointing it was. Para 4 says that it is usually positive, but it can be useful to explore darker implications. It could mean this, it could mean that, it could mean that. है ना, पेट्रियोटिज्म से हो सकता है, इससे हो सकता है, वो हो सकता है, और एक नया टर्म इंट्रोड्यूस किया, टोपोफोबिया. So this is example of to explore, where author is exploring that what all could it mean, and author is doing that. Exploring कैसे हो रही है, but author analyzing from some incidences that author has already known. So the tone is reflective. See, I'll tell you how I came at explorative in the last paragraph is because we realize that first the word explore is also used, but author is saying that it could have darker implications. It has nahi bola hai. It could mean like patriotism could further nationalist agendas. Residential communities may reinforce. May word is exploratory covered. Okay? Some things can evoke. Right. So you are exploring that this could happen. This could be the thing. Author is not trying to believe, not the author is not questioning anything. There is no popular belief that is debunked, so that is one. Author is definitely not informing because author का analysis आ रहा है, यहाँ पे author का opinion आ रहा है. There's no, so author is just exploring a lot of multiple possibilities. That's why exploring is the purpose here. And the tone is reflective because exploring का हमारे पास tone कौन से है? क्या क्या tone है हमारे पास exploring का? Reflective, suggestive, predictive, didactic. Didactic is when you talk about life that hasn't happened. Predictive is when you talk about future which hasn't happened. Suggestive is when you suggest things, possibilities that isn't happening. Reflective by method of elimination also is reflective. So the tone is reflective. So this is what the analysis of this passage is, that it is definitely, अब इसमें it is not true कि ये exploratory है. It is informative only. So overall, this passage is informing us about topophilia. What is topophilia? What are its type? How is it use case? What are its negative implications? What is the negative? What could be the negative sides of the same thing? So this is what the passage is about. Second practice. देखो, ये मैंने टॉपिक भी लिखा है, इट इज कैट 2017 स्लॉट 1 मैप मेकिंग, राइट? तो ये आरसी तुम पढ़ सकते हो और उसको आप मॉडिफायर्स अप्लाई कर सकते हो और इसके साथ कंपेयर कर सकते हो कि डिड आई एलिमिनेट इट प्रॉपर्ली और नॉट। फेयर? चलो, रीड दिस, डू दिस वन, गिव मी पैरावाइज एनालिसिस। चलो, लेट्स डू इट टुगेदर, लेट्स डू इट टुगेदर। अभी इस पैराग्राफ में ना, लेट्स नॉट डू इट पैरावाइज, लेट अस डू इट ओवरऑल, ठीक है? Because of course in exam we can't end up doing pairwise because anyway there's no direct question on it, right? So we will do it together, okay? How do we do it together? Not directly, we can't do it directly. We have to do it by understanding one paragraph at the time, what author is trying to say. Even if we don't mark the tone or the purpose of every paragraph, it's okay, right? Because that's not the exercise all about. At the end it is about understanding what the passage is saying, right? So let us see how are we going to go it. So first thing is, पूरे आरसी को मैंने modifiers से strip down कर लिया है. Modifiers we have eliminated, extra information we have eliminated, and this is the RC with us now. That's the first thing we do. Now the second thing is, now we read it. Now we read whatever the crux was. So it says, we come hardwired with specialized brain areas to create cognitive maps of our surrounding. We come with our brain areas that create maps of our surroundings. We try to communicate our understanding to the world with others by drawing maps, right? So we all have this ability कि हम maps imagine करते हैं. So by drawing maps, for thousands of years, we have been drawing maps and communicating how some area to people, right? Like I go to some area, I draw its map, and I tell Nitya, I tell Amrita, I tell everybody, see, this is how the place looked like. There was a hill, and there were these 4 things, and then there were 4 roads, whatever, right? So that is what they're trying to say. Ki we are hardwired to make maps of our surrounding, and we have been communicating our idea of surroundings to people by drawing maps for thousands of years. Okay? Basically, what? Ki we have been drawing maps. We have been drawing maps for thousands of years. यही main point है, author को यही बताना था. First passage was just setting a context, so it was to inform, right? You were just informing, है ना? कि we have been drawing, just saying that we have been drawing maps for thousands of years. You set the context, ठीक है? We have been drawing, तो क्या? And whole point is, so what? So what? Okay. However, only within the last few hundred years, the North has been at the top. Now, this is where author is challenging or debunking what we always knew. We always thought that North used to be at the top because that is how we have learned. But now author says, हमेशा से नहीं था. Earlier it wasn't so. It has just happened in the last 100 years, or last few hundred years, when North started being at the top. So now here author is like starting a discussion. First paragraph was just a context that maps are drawn. Okay. But what about it? About it is ki, bro, you felt ki North was at the top. It wasn't so. It started being just now. So this is how then author came to the point, started doing the discussion. Here the tone is, the author is trying to challenge or debunk what we thought we knew, right? So author, once you debunk, right? Whenever author says some popular belief was about North, and whenever you debunk it, author will give you lot of examples, some evidence to tell you why was it so. Why did I say what I said? Everybody believed so, but I said no. Why did I say it? Author will keep justifying. So see, further you will see author telling you that earlier it wasn't so. Why did author say that? It's because the map historian said North was rarely put at the top because North is where darkness comes from. तो मैं ही नहीं कह रहा हूँ, एक हिस्टोरियन है, वो हिस्टोरियन ने भी कहा था, ठीक है, कि North was rarely put at the top because North से darkness आता है. West is also unlikely to be put in the top because West is where the sun disappears. So North is where the darkness comes from. West is where the sun disappears. So those 2 directions were never put on the top. However, Chinese maps seem to buck this trend. Buck matlab they defied it. Chinese maps, emperor was put on the top. And in the Chinese map, the emperor was put on the top. Okay? Was put on the top of the map, and everyone else is looking upwards in. Everybody is looking to him. The emperor looks south. Ab emperor can't look at north or west because those are negative directions. So now emperor wants to look down to the south. So everybody has to look to the emperor. And that is why North came at the top. Everyone is looking towards him. Emperor looks south where the winds come from. It's a good direction. Right? That is why North is at the top. So they are saying, historians said that North was not at the top because that is where the darkness came from. West is where the sun disappeared. So these 2 directions were not put. But then in China, they started bucking this trend, but the logic was different. The logic was that the emperor wanted to look south, and we wanted all the people to look towards the emperor. And that is why by default it happened that north was put at the top. There was very little consistency in which way early maps pointed. Consistency नहीं थी, but there was very little consistency. ये ना ऐसे type के terms बहुत use होते हैं, these kind of terms. There was very little consistency, मतलब there was no consistency. Very little consistency. There was no, but however, there was no consistency. Like Egyptian times, the top was east, the position of sunrise. In Egypt, they would put east on the top because that is where sunrise came from. In Islamic maps, they favored south at the top. In Christian maps, they put east at the top. So again, somebody put east, somebody put south. And then which was they said that north and west wasn't put because they are not like auspicious directions. So either you put south or you put east. But in China, they did north for accidental purpose because king wanted to look at the positive direction south. That's why accidentally it happened. Okay. So basically here, this is a classic example of exploration. You're exploring कि somewhere this happened, that happened, that happened, that happened, right? So when did, lastly, others say, so when did everyone get together and decide north was at the top? Again exploring कि कब हुआ होगा, क्योंकि इस्लाम में यहाँ पे चाइनीज ऐसे, इजिप्ट में ऐसा, चाइना में ऐसा, हर जगह अलग अलग था. तो when did it happen that everybody got together and decided that north is going to be top? है ना? So again author is exploring कि when it could have happened. People of European Union, people think European Union explorers are behind this, but they are not. People think that there were explorers ना, ये क्रिस्टोफर कोलंबस ये वो, उन लोगों ने ये किया, but उन्होंने नहीं किया. We don't know when it happened or who did it. So the author is just saying कि when could it have happened? So this is exploratory, right? So classic example of this is the purpose of this passage is to explore. To explore, what are we exploring? How and when north started to be at the top. ये कब start हुआ ये हम explore कर रहे हैं, right? Now what is the tone? Now confusion is what is the tone? How do you decide tone? What are the tones again? To explore का we have a reflective tone, right? What are the tones? अच्छा ऊपर है इसके ऊपर है, हाँ. It is reflective, suggestive, predictive, and didactic. So we know reflective is when we talk about the past. Predictive is when we talk about the future. Are we talking about the future here? It's simple. Ask questions. Now, predictive के लिए ask questions. Are we talking about the future here? कि what can happen in the future? No. So it is not predictive. Are we talking about life, morals, ethics? No. So it is not didactic. Are we suggesting different possibilities? Different possibilities in form of कि you could do this, you could do that, you could do that? No. Author is not suggesting. Did author say that it must have happened कि at this point it started? Like there are five different possibilities of how north started being at top. No. Author is just looking at the past, saying Egypt में ऐसा, Islam में ऐसा, and author is saying कि when I look back, I realize कि this is different, it happened, but don't know when actually it became a convention, right? So this tone is definitely this reflective. Okay. So how do? You basically look at the tones and you ask tones with respect to every question with respect to every tone. If talking about future, it's predictive. You're predicting the future. That's why predictive. If you're thinking about the past and looking back, then it is reflective. If you're suggesting possibilities in terms of this suggestion or that suggestion or that suggestion, suggestive. If you're talking about life, morals, ethics, didactic. इतना easy तो है. इतना easy तो है. Do we have clarity on tones now? Yeah, so good, right? So this was a classic passage where we saw the end motive was to explore.